In a total naval blockade of the South China Sea, Singapore becomes a fortress with a target on its stomach. Every light, every drop of water, and every calorie in the city is a guest of the global supply chain. And in a world at war, those guests stop showing up. You are looking at 5 specific civilian impacts of World War III on Singapore, ranked from slow building strain to the most dangerous daily life breakdown. This city is not fragile because it's disorganized. It's fragile because it is the most organized system on Earth, built entirely around the assumption that the trade lanes stay open. We're looking at a scenario where regional tension in the Malacca Strait or the Red Sea forces trade fragmentation, turning the island's efficiency into its greatest liability. You need to understand the ground rules. A hyper-optimized city has no padding. When the gears of global commerce seize up, the friction hits the HDB blocks and the grocery aisles within 48 hours. Here is how that system fails, one dependency at a time.
Number 5. Retail fragmentation. The smooth, air-conditioned world of Singaporean retail is a miracle of just-in-time logistics, but that miracle dies the moment the container stops stacking it to us. Most people assume that a shortage means empty shelves across the board, but the reality is much more frustrating. It's the broken inventory effect. You'll see plenty of one item and absolutely none of its essential counterpart. As the specialized components of a modern household, everything from specific detergents to repair parts for your appliances, vanish from the local market. This city is a hub, not a warehouse. The proof is in the sheer volume of daily arrivals required to keep a high-density population stocked. Retailers here rely on a constant rolling inventory that stays on ships until the very moment it's needed on the shelf. There is very little backroom storage in a land-scarce city. The hidden tax here is your time. You'll spend hours hunting for basics that used to be a 5-minute grab at the neighborhood fair price, only to find that the specific item you need is sitting on a vessel in a holding pattern 500 miles away. Look at the aisles next time you're out. Notice how shallow the stock really is. A common mistake is waiting for a restock that isn't coming because the logistics chain has pivoted to military priority. The better move is to standardize your household needs now. If you're in an apartment tonight, start identifying the 3 non-food items your family cannot function without and secure a 90-day buffer. This retail friction is an annoyance, but it's a mere distraction compared to the specialized shortages coming for your health and infrastructure.
Number 4. The specialized supply gap. In a global conflict, the world stops trading the things you need to stay comfortable and starts trading the things that win wars. Singapore is a world-class hub for medicine and electronics. But being a hub doesn't mean the city-state owns the inventory. When trade fragments, the highly specialized, life-saving medications and tech components that the population relies on will be diverted back to the nations that manufacture them. This is the bottleneck of high-end dependency. You see it in the way pharmaceutical chains operate. They don't keep months of supply on the island because the cool chain logistics are too expensive to maintain at scale for a small landmass. The proof is in the data. A huge percentage of critical chronic care meds are imported on a weekly basis. The catch is that you can't use an improvised fix for an insulin shortage or a failed server motherboard that runs a bank's local branch. If you rely on a specific imported maintenance medication, the wrong move is assuming the local pharmacy's supply chain is more resilient than the global one. The safer call is to work with your doctor now to understand the generic alternatives or long-term storage requirements for your specific needs. This specialized gap is far more dangerous than retail shortages because it targets the vulnerable and the city's digital backbone directly. If the specialized parts for the city's digital infrastructure fail, the smart nation goes dark long before the power does. While a broken laptop is a problem, a broken transport network is a crisis that resets your entire daily geography.
Number 3. Mobility and the fuel clock. Singapore's transport system is a masterpiece of engineering, but it's a system that runs on a very tight fuel-to-movement ratio. In a global conflict, fuel isn't just expensive, it's rationed. And in a city as dense as this, rationing looks like a total halt for the average resident. You might think the MRT and buses are the solution, but those systems are designed for peak load efficiency. They aren't built for a world where private transport has vanished and fuel for the turbines is being prioritized for the military and essential desalination. The proof is in the daily flow of the Malacca Strait. If that flow is choked by naval activity or insurance hikes, the fuel reserves on the island are measured in weeks, not months. The friction here is the sudden loss of the last mile. If the buses stop or the trains are reserved for essential workers, your world shrinks to the distance you can walk in the tropical heat. Most people will try to wait out a transport strike or a fuel hike, thinking it's a temporary policy shift that the government will subsidize away. The better play is to assume that any disruption in the Strait of Hormuz is a permanent change to your mobility. Map out your foot routes to essential services immediately. If you're stuck there now, ensure you have high-quality, broken-in footwear for every member of your family and a way to transport goods, like a heavy-duty trolley that doesn't require an engine. You're going to be doing a lot more walking than the city's design intends. This lack of mobility is a severe constraint, but even if you can walk to the clinic, you still need the lights to stay on and the water to reach your floor when you get home. Number 2, the energy matrix breakdown. Singapore generates nearly all of its electricity using imported natural gas, and that creates a vulnerability that no amount of solar panels can currently fix for 5 million people. This isn't just about the lights going out. It's about the failure of the climate control and water pressure systems that make high-rise living physically possible in the tropics. When the gas pipelines from neighbors are stressed or the LNG tankers are disrupted by regional tension, the grid will start to shed load to protect the core. The proof is in the physics of the city. Without power, the pumps that move water to the 20th floor of an HDB block stop working. A high-rise without water and air conditioning in this climate isn't a home, it's a thermal trap. The bottleneck is the sheer density of the population. You cannot have 10,000 people in one housing estate trying to carry buckets of water up 30 flights of stairs. The wrong move is staying in a high-floor unit when the elevators and water pumps become intermittent. The better move is to identify a secondary location or a lower floor base where you can access ground-level water points and benefit from natural ventilation. If the power flickers, fill every clean container you have immediately. Gravity is a harsh master when the pumps fail, and the higher you live, the faster you'll feel the impact of an energy cutoff. This energy fragility is why the next rank is the ultimate failure point. You can live in the dark for a while, but you cannot live without the calorie. Number 1, the calorie gap. This is the definitive failure mode for a city that imports over 90% of its food. In World War III, food isn't just a commodity, it's a weapon of national survival, and Singapore is at the wrong end of that barrel. You'd think the 30 by 30 goal of local production would save the city, but the reality is that current local production is focused on high-tech greens and eggs. These are supplements, not the bulk calories like rice and protein that sustain a population over a long-term conflict. The proof is in the calorie math. Singapore simply lacks the landmass to be self-sufficient in staples. When shipping lanes are contested, the price of rice doesn't just go up, the supply disappears as exporting nations move to food nationalism to feed their own people first. This beats the energy crisis because while you can survive a heat wave with enough water, you cannot survive a month of missing meals. The catch is that everyone in the city will realize this at the exact same moment, leading to a total collapse of public order at the distribution points. The wrong move is joining the scramble at the supermarket when the news of a naval blockade hits the telegram groups. The safer call is to have already established a 6-month deep pantry of dry goods like rice, beans, and canned proteins. If you haven't started, buy 10 kilograms of rice today. It's the cheapest insurance policy you'll ever own. A bunker without grain is just a waiting room, and in a besieged Singapore, your apartment is that waiting room. You have to move from a consumer mindset to an inventory mindset before the first shot is fired. This is the reality of living in a hyper-efficient system. It works perfectly until it doesn't work at all. If you want signal, subscribe. If you want noise, scroll. Go to your kitchen right now and count how many days of food you actually have if the port's closed tomorrow. Tell me that number in the comments.